One morning, Sir Topham Hatt and his grandchildren came to see Toby. "Come on, Toby. We're all going to the seaside. We will ride in Henrietta." "Yes, sir," said Toby happily. They came to a small seaside station. Soon the children were playing in the sand, building a splendid castle. Sir Topham Hatt inspected it. "My word, it's a very fine castle. Have you seen a real one like it?" "Yes," replied the children. "It's here on the island," and they showed him a map. Pondered Sir Topham Hatt. They met Toby at the harbor. "Come along, we are going exploring." Soon they were in the wildest part of the island. They stopped by a lonely signal box. "Where are you going?" asked the signalman. "We're trying to find an old castle." "I know the place, sir," said the signalman. "There's a small junction not too far down the line. Just switch the points." When the firemen switched the points, their adventure really began. Toby pushed past branches and bushes until they came to another little junction. There they saw two signs saying, "To the castle" and "To the mine." "We'll go to the castle first." Toby stopped by an old water tower. "There's the castle." "Yes," replied Sir Topham Hatt. "And now we shall visit the mine." Once upon a time, the mine had been worked by the little engines, and their lines were still in place. But now everything was very rusty and overgrown. Sir Topham Hatt was most impressed, but Toby was rather scared. He was glad when it was time to go home. "I think the castle and the mine will make a fine place for visitors, but it will take some hard work first." "Yes, sir," said Toby nervously. Sir Topham Hatt's plans were soon put into action, but Toby was still worried. "I'm sure this place is haunted," he thought. "It's our turn to stay here on guard tonight, Toby." "Oh, yes, why not?" stuttered Toby. "Beware of the ghost, Toby," Thomas said. "What ghost?" asked Toby. "The old warrior ghost. Every night he lights his fire, then goes hunting. Toot toot! Goodbye." Night came. Toby looked anxiously around. Everything seemed rather spooky. Quite suddenly, he heard a strange wheezing sound. "It's the ghost!" he wailed. "What ghost?" his driver asked. "It's the old warrior. He's come to hunt me down." "Don't be so daft. We'll go and investigate." They returned quite soon. "The old warrior wants to meet you," laughed his fireman. "Can't it wait till morning?" replied Toby. "Ghosts don't work day shifts," said his driver. Toby bravely made his way. "Well, bless my bell," he exclaimed. There, in front of him, was a little old engine. "This is your ghost, Toby," said the signalman. "His name's really Bertram, but we call him the Old Warrior because he's so brave." Bertram and Toby are now friends. They take the visitors to the castle and the mine. If there are any ghosts here, they certainly help to make the place very happy.
One night, Henry and Gordon were alone with James. Although Sir Topham Hatt was beginning to think well of him, whenever a chance came, the other engines would talk of nothing but bootlaces. Remember when they had to use a bootlace to get you out of trouble, James? They would tease. James tried to get back by talking about Henry, who got shot up in a tunnel, and Gordon, who got stuck on a hill. But they wouldn't listen.
You talk too much, little James, said Gordon. A fine, strong engine like me has something to talk about. I'm the only engine who can pull the express. When I'm not there, they need 2 engines. Think of that. I've pulled expresses for years and have never once lost my way. I seem to know the right line by instinct.
Every wise engine knows, of course, that the signalman sets the switches to make the engines run on the right tracks. But Gordon was so proud he had forgotten.
Wake up, James, said Gordon next morning. It's nearly time for the express. What are you doing? Odd jobs? Oh, well, we all have to begin somewhere, don't we? Run along now and get my coaches. Don't be late. James went to get Gordon's coaches. They were all shining with lovely new paint. He was careful not to bump them, and they followed him smoothly into the station, singing happily, "We're going away, we're going away." I wish I was going with you, said James. I should love to pull the express and go flying along the line. Gordon, with much noise and blowing of steam, got ready to back onto the train.
Sir Topham Hatt was on the train with other important people, and as soon as they heard the conductor's whistle, Gordon started.
Look at me now, he puffed, and the coaches glided after him. Poop, 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 poop. Goodbye, little James. See you tomorrow. James watched the train disappear and then went back to work.
He pushed some freight cars into their proper sidings and went to fetch the coaches for another train. James had just brought the coaches to the platform when he heard a mournful noise. There was Gordon trying to sneak into the station without being noticed.
Hello, Gordon. Is it tomorrow? Asked James. Gordon didn't answer. He just let off steam feebly. Did you lose your way, Gordon? Said James. No, it was lost for me. I was switched off the main line onto the loop. I had to go all round and back again. Perhaps it was instinct, said James.
Meanwhile, all the passengers hurried to the ticket window. "We want our money back," they shouted. But Sir Topham Hatt climbed onto a cart and blew the conductor's whistle so loudly that they all stopped to look at him. Then he promised them a new train at once.
Gordon can't do it, he said. Will you pull it for us, James? Yes, sir, I'll try. So James was coupled on and everyone got in. Do your best, James, said Sir Topham Hatt. Come along, puffed James. You're pulling us well, sang the coaches. Bridges and stations flashed by, the passengers cheered, and they soon reached the station. Everyone said thank you to James,
and Sir Topham Hatt was very impressed.
Well done, he said. Would you like to pull the express sometimes? Yes, please, answered James.
Next day, when James came by, Gordon was pushing freight cars. "I like some quiet work for a change," he said. "I'm teaching these cars manners. You did well with those coaches, I hear." "Good, we'll show them." And he gave his cars a bump.
James and Gordon are now good friends. James sometimes takes the express to give Gordon a rest.
Gordon never talks about bootlaces, and they are both quite agreed on the subject of freight cars.
Bertie the bus was giving some visitors a tour of the island of Sodor. It was their last afternoon, and Edward was preparing to take them to meet Bill and Ben. He found it hard to start the heavy train. "Did you see him straining?" asked Henry. "Positively painful," remarked James. "Just pathetic," grunted Gordon. "He should give up and be preserved before it's too late." "Shut up," burst out Duck. "You're all jealous. Edward's better than any of you." "You're right, Duck," said Boko. "Edward's old, but he'll surprise us all." "I've done it, we're off! I've done it, we're off!" said Edward as he finally puffed out of the station. Bill and Ben were delighted to see the visitors. They loved being photographed. Later, they took the party to the China Clay Works in a break band special. Everyone had a splendid time, and the visitors were most impressed. Then Edward took the visitors home. On the way, the weather changed. Wind and rain buffeted Edward. His sanding gear failed, and his fireman rode in front, dropping sand on the rails by hand. Suddenly, Edward's wheels slipped fiercely. With a shrieking crack, something broke. The crew inspected the damage. Repairs took some time. "One of your crank pins broke, Edward," said his driver. "We've taken your side rods off. Now you're like an old-fashioned engine. Can you get these people home? They must start back tonight." "I'll try, sir," promised Edward. Edward puffed and pulled his hardest, but his wheels kept slipping and he could not start the heavy train. The passengers were anxious. Driver, fireman, and conductor went along the train, making adjustments between the coaches. "We've loosened the couplings, Edward. Now you can pick your coaches up one by one, just as you do with freight cars." "That will be much easier," said Edward. "Come on," he puffed, and moved cautiously forward. The first coach moving helped to start the second, and the second helped the third. "I've done it! I've done it!" puffed Edward. "Steady, boy," warned his driver. "Well done, boy. You've got them! You've got them!" And he listened happily to Edward's steady beat as he forged slowly but surely ahead. At last, battered, weary, but unbeaten, Edward steamed in. Henry was waiting for the visitors with the special train. "Peep, peep!"
Sir Topham Hatt
angrily pointed to the clock, but excited passengers cheered and thanked Edward, his driver and fireman. Duck and Boko saw to it that Edward was left in peace. Gordon and James remained respectfully silent.